Hi, so this is Fabian Benalcazar, Senior Underwriter with Greater Newark Enterprise Corporation with GNEC, part of the capital deployment team. We just recently spoke about why it is important to have certain documents ready for when you apply. I want to do a little bit of a deep dive into why bank statements. Why are bank statements looked at by an underwriter, and what are some of the common mistakes that an underwriter looks for, right? Or what you would need to avoid in preparation for applying for a loan. So first and foremost, right, let's look at bank statement. Whenever we get our bank statement, most of us are in the habit nowadays of getting it online. We don't really take the time to review it. If you do get it in print, most of us are in the habit of just looking at it, glancing over just like the first page or two and putting it in the later to address pile, which normally doesn't get addressed until much, much later, until an issue arises. It is important, however, that you look at those statements because an underwriter is going to look at the summary page. They're going to look at each one of the transactions. They're going to do a quick scan. They're going to see, or they're going to keep an eye out for red flags. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what those red flags are and why it is important that you do take the time to review that bank statement. Remember when I was in high school back in the day, very, very long time ago, but one of the classes that I had was what they called home economics classes. And in home economics classes, they had a section of that class that was devoted to actually doing a bank statement reconciliation. So, re, not saying that word properly, but you get your bank statement, you figure out how many checks you wrote throughout the month, and now you look at your bank statement and you make sure that you reconcile whatever it is that you thought that went out compared to what actually went out, and you're able to balance out that bank statement. And so sometimes you find out that you missed keeping a track of a particular item that went out, or sometimes you found out that perhaps you were being charged by something that was not supposed to come out of your bank account. So first and foremost, that is the most important reason why you have to look at your bank statement, right? It provides a clear picture of where you are with your account balances and making sure that the money is going where it's supposed to be going and making sure that the money that is coming in as it's supposed to be coming in. You want to look at, particularly as you're writing out checks and as money is going out of the business, you want to keep an eye on non-sufficient fund fees and overdraft fees, right? You want to make sure you have none of those. Those are red flags. Talked a little bit about red flags that an underwriter looks for. As I scan through bank statements, I keep an eye out for that. How many times does a client have a non-sufficient funds hit on their account or an overdraft fee on their account, right? Because that tells me that there's something going on with the cash flow. Either there's not enough money coming in, either the client doesn't know how to manage their funds properly. Something is going on, and I got to do a deeper dive on that. Hey, listen, if I see one, if I see two on a span of a 12-month review, I'm not going to say anything because life happens to all of us. But if I see a consistent, right, a consistent non-sufficient funds fee, overdraft fee being charged, then obviously I want to keep an eye on that. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to need some sort of explanation as to what's going on. So frequency of how often these happen suggests maybe, right, there is a lack of mismanagement of the funds there. And that's a bad indicator if you're applying for a loan. I'm also going to look for a monthly maintenance fees, right? So again, banks change their guidelines all the time. And so it's hard to keep up with what allows you to waive that fee or how to make sure you're not getting charged that monthly maintenance fee. And of course, if you're busy in your business, which I hope everybody is, it's hard to keep an eye on those monthly maintenance fees, right? They may be hitting your account and you're not realizing that they're hitting your account. But that's why it's important, like I said when we first started, to go back and look at that, to look at your statements when they come in, either via email or in print. You want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on these things because I, as an underwriter, I'm going to look at that, right? I have done plenty, and when I say plenty, I mean plenty of analysis on bank statements. I've had people that have 4 or 5 different bank statements, and I look at 12 months worth of bank statements and I see each and every month monthly maintenance fees coming out of these accounts. And so that tells me as an underwriter that you're not paying attention to the little details, right? You got to keep an eye on what's putting a negative impact on your business, right? What's creating a negative impact on your business. You got to keep an eye on that. And so in that particular example that I was just alluding to a few moments ago, for example, this one particular client had 4 different accounts getting charged $12 a month of maintenance fees, right? Over 12 months, that's $144 a month, $144 a year on each one of those accounts. So you do the math. You do the math. That's close to $600 that is going out of the business on a yearly basis. And the client had no clue whatsoever. So it's important to keep an eye on that. Again, as an underwriter, it tells me that you're not paying attention to the little details. You got to understand, from an underwriting perspective, we're looking at what is risky about this business and how is this client mitigating that risk to make sure that they keep their business going as efficiently as possible, right? And so the little details like missing the monthly maintenance fee, again, if it happens once or twice, no big deal. NSF fees, overdraft fees, once or twice, no big deal. But if it happens consistently over and over again, those are little red flags that, sort of kind of put that in the back, put the risk factor in the back of my mind as an underwriter when I'm looking at bank statements. Also, we look to see what your money management practices are like. Are you managing the money properly? In other words, when the money is coming in, are you paying your bills on time? Is everything going out the way it's supposed to? Do you have a consistent outing of your do you have a consistent outflow of your money? Are the bills getting paid consistently month over month, right? Are you paying your rent on the first or the fifth of the month? Are you paying your light bill on the first or the fifth of the month? Or are you paying it on the 15th or 20th of the month, right? We look to see these things to make sure that you're managing your money properly, that you have some practices set in motion to such that you're demonstrating that you're managing your money the way a successful business would. We're going to look for evidence of prudent financial decisions, timely bills, right? Strategic investments, right? If all of a sudden we notice that, hey, there's a large outflow of money, as an underwriter, I will ask, hey, I see that $5,000 went out on this particular date. What was that for? And if your answer is, oh, there was a bargain sale on a particular supply that I need for my business, and I, was bargain hunting and I was able to get a great deal on it. Hey, that's a strategic investment. That's managing your money prudently, right? That's managing your money properly. And that's what we want to see as underwriters, right? If we see that all of a sudden there is in the middle of the month, there is too much money going out and not enough money coming in, then it shows that there's a certain lack of planning there. And then, like I mentioned before, right, the attention to detail, knowing exactly when your statement closes so that you can keep a balance in your statement, right? One of the things that you look at when you look at a bank statement is you look at that summary. You see how much money is deposited for the month. You see how much money went out for the month. And then you look to see what your ending balance is. You got to keep an eye on your end balance for your statement, okay? As you're planning, make sure that you always leave enough money in your bank account such that when that bank account closes, it reflects a positive number. You'd be surprised how many bank statements I've looked at where consistently, month over month, the bank statement closes with a negative balance. Now, of course, the next day, the person is able to figure out, oh, there's a negative balance there. Let me run to the bank and make a deposit to make sure I don't get any overdraft fees. That's fine, but it's already in print, right? It already happened because that account closed on that date and it closed with a negative balance. So keep an eye on that. Know what your end of statement balance is, know what your end of statement date is. It might be in the middle of the month for some folks, and some banks do it that way. It might be at the very end of the month for some folks, and depending on whether the bank does it that way. But know what that date is, and make sure you do everything within your power to make sure that you never, ever, ever end a month with a negative balance. It is a bad reflection of you. It is a red flag when an underwriter looks at it. All right. So I spend a few moments talking about some of the mistakes that I see going on with bank statements, how to make sure that you avoid those mistakes, and what it is that an underwriter looks for when they look at bank statements. Hope this information that I share with you is of value, and I hope to see your application come through GNEX soon.